Gentlelady yields back. For what purpose does the gentleman from Kentucky seek recognition?
I move to strike the last word.
Gentleman is recognized.
This is one of those pieces of legislation that sounds good and it feels good, but it doesn't work, and it opens Pandora's box. I think it's a wild exaggeration to say it would save 12,000 American lives per year. That assumes the person doesn't already own a gun or that a relative doesn't have a gun. And it also leaves out a very unfortunate phenomenon that I'm aware of because I have a friend who owns a gun store. People who want to commit suicide don't need to buy the gun. They can go rent it. There are ranges where you can rent a firearm, and you don't have to purchase it. Now, this has happened at gun ranges, and it would happen with more frequency, I would expect, if somebody puts themselves on a database, which I don't think that's going to work either, but it just happens, and you're ignoring that this bill doesn't address that, can't address that. One of the things, my biggest concern isn't just that the bill doesn't work, isn't going to work, and doesn't understand how these suicides occur. It's that it's ripe for abuse. I see here in the bill there's a provision where you can add your name by mail or by electronic mail. If somebody wants to dox you, I mean, this is a fairly recent phenomenon of the internet age, but you upset some folks on the internet, and they will go to great lengths to get you fired, to get you in trouble. I can imagine that they would attempt to submit your name by mail, steal your identity, and thereby deprive you of your Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. And if they can intercept the communication that comes back the other way to confirm that you've been added to this list, you won't even know that you're on the list. So that's a big concern of mine. It also says that you can do this by mail if there's a letter accompanied by a mental health professional. What I'm concerned about is this creates a database. This opens the door, and write this down, mark it down, come back in 10 years and see if they haven't tried this, to allow this very system that this bill would set up to be accessed not by individuals with a letter from a mental health professional, but simply with a letter from a mental health professional. This is going to be ripe for expansion to do that, and I'm afraid this is one of those predictions that unfortunately is going to come true, that they're going to expand this later, and it's not just going to be the individual that submits their name. And I know there's a provision in here that says you can't be required to submit your name as condition of employment or to receive any benefit or service, but that's going to happen. It happens today at the Veterans Administration. I've had whistleblowers who work for the Veterans Administration tell me that what happens is when a veteran goes from like 50% disability and they apply for about maybe 85 or 90% disability, there's an interview that happens, and a doctor asks, or somebody at the VA asks, do you handle your own finances? And if you are unfortunate enough to say that you don't handle your own finances, and for some of these cases, people are thinking, well, my wife has the checkbook. I've never even written a check, so I don't. Mr. Tiffany would associate with that remark. I would too. I don't really manage my own finances. So if you say that, here's what happens. They add you into this Brady criteria. You get put in the NICS database. You become federally prohibited from owning a firearm. There's no adjudication. There's the opportunity for adjudication, but here's how it happens. In the same envelope that the VA sends you that says, we approved your benefits, there's another letter that says, by the way, unless you appeal, you're going into the NICS background check system. No veteran who depends on that benefit to stay in their home, to buy their food, is going to appeal that when it comes in the same envelope. So that's another grave concern I have about this legislation, is that there will be the implied condition that you submit your name before you receive something from somebody else. And it may be a family member. It could be a family member who just says, look, I'd like to give you this or get you that, but you're going to have to put your name in this database. And so it's for that and other reasons I oppose this bill. So if it's not the intent, I think that authors should fix this bill. If it's not the intent to convict family members who transfer firearms or
Mr.
private
Massie, we're
individuals.
happy to fix that. I don't think that's going to bring you on the bill either, so, you
But
know,
is it
that is
I'm
not the-
asking a question, does the bill do that?
So,
And I'll yield to
We've said
Mr.
no.
Bishop for a second.
the introductory language to subsection D is, it shall be unlawful for any person to sell or otherwise dispose of any firearm ammunition to any person knowing or having reasonable cause to believe that such person, including as a juvenile, and then those all. So if the person ends up on the list, you've hit it.
Right.
But with the unbeknownst, we're talking about passing a bill rendering people criminals.
Right.
For doing something they have no
So
idea.
if my father added his name to this list 10 years ago, and he says, hey, Thomas, loan me a gun, I want to go hunting. And he seems, of sound mind to me, and I loan him a shotgun, which isn't particularly suitable for the application of committing suicide, but it has been done. And then he goes out in the woods and kills himself. Am I now guilty of a federal crime because of your bill?
No, Representative Massie, we've asked and answered it. I've told you that is not the intent. If you want to clarify that on the way to the floor, we're happy to do that.
You're reclaiming my
But
time.
we have already
Under the
been
gentleman-
clear that that is not the intent of the bill, and we've already answered your question
I didn't
multiple
ask the
times.
intent.
Time of the gentleman has expired. Who else seeks recognition?
The intent of the bill is what this language.
What purpose does the gentlelady seek recognition? Gentlelady is recognized.
I would just say what we're marking up is not intent. We are marking up U.S. code. And it's very precise. People will be convicted based on the language that comes out of here today. And so to express intent is not going to be enough. I've been in these committee markups where the other side says, no, my bill doesn't do that. And then, oh, lo and behold, they find out it does do that. And after it's passed out of the committee, they try to fix it in the Rules Committee.
Mr. Massey's owed a debt of gratitude. He's uncovered something that I didn't.
Will the gentleman yield?
It's not my time. I'll yield back to Mr. Benz.
Would Mr. Benz yield?
Yes.
Thank you. I just want to observe that that side of the aisle has beaten this particular dead horse deader than a doornail. We disagree. Repeating the same argument 25 more times isn't going to change it. So why don't we just get to a vote and, or to the next amendment if there is one, et cetera. I yield back.
Would the gentleman yield?
Yes.
So, okay, maybe we've beaten the dead horse, and maybe we're beating the dead horse, but quit telling us the horse is not dead. That would end the debate. And we could say the horse is dead, the bill is dead. You need to go work on it. It was well-intentioned, the language is flawed, the horse is dead. I appreciate the chairman's acknowledgement of said dead horse. But if you vote on this bill, let me tell you what you're doing. You're voting for a bill that is flawed. The other side knows it's flawed. The language is flawed. It creates criminals. Okay, if the other side doesn't know it's flawed, then they're openly committing legislative malpractice. We've read to them the language of the statute. And they're saying, let's hurry up. The chairman, I think sensing that his bill is in jeopardy, says, let's vote on the bill. Well, guess what? The bill ain't ready. The horse is dead, and I yield back to Cliff Benz.
Reclaiming time, would like to yield to Mr. Massey.
I thank the gentleman from Utah. I would suggest that we are all taking this issue seriously on this side of the aisle. That's why we are taking the language seriously. Congress has a problem. We take ourselves too seriously, and we don't take our jobs seriously. What I'm suggesting is if in the lighthearted way as much as possible without offending the other side of the aisle, which takes itself very seriously, and sometimes we take ourselves too seriously. I'm suggesting they should take the language of their bill seriously, give it the due consideration and concern that they have for the people that it will affect. And with that, I yield back to the gentleman from Utah.